What are three things that most people aren't thinking about that might get in the way of your closing date? This is Ron Weiss-Sikarski for the Black Hole of Real Estate. And there's absolutely three things that I want to talk about today so that you can be ready for them and not have to delay your closing. So the first thing, if you're financing, is a property survey. And this is, in essence, a map of the boundaries of your property. And if the seller has one and there have not been any changes, to the land, you might be able to use it. You can ask for that and save yourself some money. But in the event you don't have that, and again, this is if you're financing, then you need to do the boundary survey. And what could change is if they have an old one, but they've since added a fence or added a pool or a patio, it changes just a little bit of the boundary within the boundary, so to speak. They're going to need a new one in almost every single case. And those usually get ordered right before closing. So if there's rain delays or the company gets busy, all of a sudden you're all ready to close. But 3 days before closing, they ordered a survey and doesn't get back in time. That could cause you to not be able to close that day. So make sure that you're paying attention to the property survey a little bit earlier in the process. That way you don't miss the closing date. And of course, have your moving truck sitting there with all your stuff on it and no way to get in. There's also something called an elevation certificate, a little bit different than a survey. You'll most often see that if the property's in some sort of a flood zone, maybe not zone X in Florida, but maybe AE or something like that. And then it's going to show how far above or below your property may be. So, there are times where the front of the house is in zone X or not in a flood zone, so to speak, but then the back portion maybe has some water that can actually get on the property, and that is going to be super important. So elevation certificate is a layer deeper. Well, let's just file survey and elevation certificate, under the same thing. So that's one thing. Now on estoppel, this could be if you're in a condo association, an HOA, in a single family home, those type of things. Now on estoppel, what that's going to measure is when there's an association that charges dues. So whether it's a monthly due, a semi-annual, an annual due, somewhere along the line you got to pay your HOA dues. That means that you need a letter from the association of managers. The community association manager is going to produce this document. It could take 5 or 10 days. It could take 15 days. It's almost always a fee. I can't think of a time where they don't charge you for it. And what it's going to do is measure where are you in the cycle of the HOA fee. So it's monthly. They're going to prorate it down to the day for your closing date. If you're halfway through it and the fee's $400 a month, then on closing day, you got to credit one way or the other, if you're a buyer or a seller, the amount of money due on the estoppel letter. So that's going to tell you the title company who owes what. So the same way that you prorate taxes, you're also going to prorate that. So that's the estoppel letter. And you've got to have that. And believe me, if you need one and it costs a couple $100, but a rush is $400, just be prepared for that estoppel letter, because it's super important for your closing, because you really can't close without it. And then the other thing is a lien search. Now, what that's going to look for is municipal liens. Maybe you've got an old water bill or some utility bill or something, or maybe a property tax lien. We see these all the time, particularly on vacant land. Let's say that you've owned a parcel of land forever and you didn't cut the grass, or there was something that you got a code violation and never took care of it. Some municipalities have some really big fines on there. I mean, I've seen $25,000 plots of land with $20,000 worth of assessments on there, and sometimes you can fight those, sometimes you can't. So lien searches, I'm going to talk about all those things. So if it's utilities, if it's tax lien or any other kind of lien, that's usually going to come out in the last part of the deal. So if you want to be super proactive, then you can take care of those things in the beginning when you first go under contract. But for me, a best practice would probably be get through the inspection period, get through the appraisal and any financing contingency, and then, because these are going to all cost you money, pay for an appraisal, pay for the survey, take care of the lien search, and then again, take care of the estoppel. I would probably do those once you know the other stuff is done, because each one's going to cost you money that you might have to spend again. So that's three things that could get in the way of your closing date. If you got questions, drop them below. And believe me, there's more than three, but those are the three I've chosen for today. This is Ron Wysakarski for the Black Hole of Real Estate.